Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Namah Shivaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charine Nirvisesa Sundavani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I was hearing someone chanting. Someone had the microphone on. I'm going to look at some of the questions. I had a complaint. Last time we had really good questions. This time there weren't so many. In fact, there were quite a few, although they're nicely themed. They're really, we got a lot of questions from Mayapur and from Hungary. Just a couple from the UK, but there's nothing from Turkey or Russia or beyond that, Kazakhstan, Romania. So yes, if I take it that everyone's reading and studying Srila Prabhupada's books, so it would be natural if they were actually coming up with certain questions. Tevi Kelly oda másik Gyurcs meg a gombot, hogy azt is, hogy egy kicsit több fény. Igen. Jó. So yeah, I get enlivened by questions. They're stimulating. The questions stimulate me, and so last time, which was a while ago, I was going to say last week, but it was actually last month. It was very nice, and it made me think. I just zoomed over them, so I didn't see all of them. Thank you to Gaura-Nitai Prabhu for sending so many questions. But I told Chaitanya Chandra only allow one question from you. Otherwise, I'm just communicating to Gaura-Nitai, which is great. But I want the other devotees to become a little more active. And let me start off with something that was inspiring. I haven't read everything, but Saki Charan is asking, how can a devotee understand whether he's already taken Prabhupada Ashraya? What are the external, internal symptoms of being a Prabhupada Ashraya? Well, that's a good question. Depends how seriously you want to take the Ashraya. If you really took Prabhupada Ashraya, then you gave your life to Prabhupada. What does Prabhupada want? And so I'll give this life. Srila Prabhupada said, just give this one life to Krishna. Now, there are multiple interpretations of what it means to give this one life, according to what Varna you are and what ashram you are in. And even then, there are different opinions about giving the life. Sarva Dharma Parityajya. I think the best way to give a life is if you're full-time engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness movement. And, there are two ways, at least to my understanding, there are two ways to do that. One is that you live in a temple and you serve the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness locally, whatever that means. And the other is that prana artha dhyavacha, 50%. Then that's full time. So it may not be one's wealth, but Srila Prabhupada emphasized that 50% a lot. And of course, there's a lot of interpretations of what 50% is, but already agreeing to some version of the 50% is a good start. And then, if it's not my wealth, but it's my time, it's my intelligence, it's my energy, something 50%. Something 50%. Ezt is meg lehet gyújtani, és az a legfelső, és kell nyomni és tartani. Úgy. But in a very general sense, when we're talking about, yes, devotees should, and they really should. I think that this is something that when you take the disciple course, devotees have a idea of what actually Prabhupada Shraya is. When that foundation is there, that yes, Prabhupada is the foundation of my life, may not be the only foundation, but just like Krishna is the foundation of your life. I mean, you don't come to Prabhupada unless you come to Krishna. That being fixed in commitment to service to Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's teachings means that yes, Krishna's there, and Srimati Radharani is there, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, and Nityananda is there, and Panchatattva is there. So there's a lot of foundations. Just like for TOVP, they put down 1,000 pillars that went down. I can't remember how far they went down, 100 feet or something like that. And that's what TOVP is standing on top of. And so there are many foundations, but that foundation has to be there, that I understand what Srila Prabhupada has taught us, at least in terms of basics, because it takes devotees a long time to really understand Prabhupada's books. My relationship with Prabhupada is that yes, Srila Prabhupada is the Shablon, the template. Prabhupada is the template. And everybody and everything gets compared to him. So Prabhupada's teachings or Prabhupada's example, this is the template. Although there may be certain exceptional circumstances, just like for lunchtime, now we're watching these remembrances, Prabhupada remembrances, and over the last few days, we've been watching, it's a blend of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Revati Nandan Prabhu, and Kaushalya, who was one of the early ladies. And Kaushalya was recounting this incident where she was in India with Srila Prabhupada, and she joined very young. She was like only 16 or something, or 15. And Prabhupada made her a devotee in Hawaii, and then she went to India. And she had memorized Ishopanishad, and this was in India, and they went out on a program, And so Prabhupada had her recite the whole Ishopanishad. And she did that, and that was very impressive for all the people. Sanskrit, she was singing the verses. And so at the end, when they went back to their house, Prabhupada was so pleased that he told her, "Come over here." And he started rubbing her head, and he put her head in his lap, and he started rubbing her back and everything. And he was so pleased with it. So that's not necessarily something that everyone should be doing. In terms of an example, that was the first time I heard Prabhupada do something like that. Very exceptional. But Prabhupada is the template, and everything compares to him. And Prabhupada is the template, and that template is not just he's the template now. He's the template for his disciples, but he's the founder of Acharya. Means he's the template for all time to come, as long as ISKCON continues to exist, or his followers continues to exist. Srila Prabhupada is the standard. And so when it's clear, and I'm very firm on this, that Prabhupada is the standard, and what the standard is, or at least what the standards are. The standards in terms of sadachar conduct, in terms of teachings, in terms of mission, in terms of personal conduct, when those things are very clear, then yes, Prabhupada Ashraya. You're all getting behind me a picture. Don't take a picture of that picture. I don't want it appearing on the internet. It's part of upcoming book. Srimati Radharani Pauling. And so that's, yes, Prabhupada Ashraya. And you know, I try to emphasize this a lot. And the importance of the devotees, the importance of Srila Prabhupada in their lives, particularly because of the influence of time. Sakalini Hamahata, that as time goes on, the thread is there that Prabhupada becomes a sort of a historical person. He just gets relegated to someone in history. And the other is that, well, Srila Prabhupada is my spiritual master, but devotees say, well, he's not my guru. He's not my Diksha guru. And devotees didn't have personal association with him, which you could argue that it doesn't matter. I understand the philosophy, but from the practical point of view, it does matter. At least it matters for conditioned souls. So there's the risk that, yes, Prabhupada then becomes more distant, and this, you know, just like you have a template, and the template starts to fade, and you no longer see the lines anymore. So that's very important. That's very, very strong in a devotee's heart. And you know, what are the external, internal symptoms? These are things to think about and write down, but certainly this commitment that I'm committed. Where was that? Let me I'm just looking up something. Who wrote that to me? I don't know whether it was Rajastevaki wrote it or someone. Yes. Yeah, he did. This was Tamal Krishna Maharaj saying Uh, like what? This is this is Tamal Krishna's quote. This is the institution my father made. If the ship goes down, I go down with the ship. So it was a good. It's a sentiment of commitment, but yes, it's not. Prabhupada didn't want the ship to go down. So that's the other part of the commitment, that the devotee makes sure that I'm going to do whatever I can do, whatever that we can do, to make sure that the ship doesn't go down. And how can I contribute? So there's that story, and that stories comes from Acharya's quoted, Prabhupada quotes it in the Gita. It comes from one of the Puranas about the bird whose eggs the ocean swept away. And she was determined to get her eggs back. And so she started to peck away at the ocean, that she was going to empty the ocean. So Narada Muni happens to come along. It's amazing how many places Narada Muni happens to come along. And Narada Muni happens to come along and asks the bird, "What are you doing?" And she said, "My eggs are in the ocean and I'm going to empty it." So Narada Muni said, it's not going to work. So he went to, because usually Narada Muni he's like this real instigator, and sort of he moves people, And so he went to Garuda, and he said that, one of your family members is struggling with the ocean, you should go help them. So then Garuda showed up and told the ocean, "Give back the eggs, or I'm going to help the bird." And Garuda's unlimitedly powerful. So then the ocean immediately gave back the eggs. So it may seem that we may not be able to do very much, but if we're also determined, like the little bird, if we're determined, then Yoga Ksema Baham, then yes, Krishna will help. Devotee says that here's another question, interesting question. Some devotees shared with me that when they try to concentrate on the relationship with their guru, it becomes difficult to concentrate on the relationship with Prabhupada. He fades into the background, and vice versa. How to always see our guru inseparably connected with Prabhupada and simultaneously develop a relationship with both. But it doesn't work like that. In other words, if you have a relationship with the guru, then, if you're looking through, Prabhupada's examples, if you're looking through the telescope, you can't just look through one lens. So there's a lot of lenses in a telescope. If you're looking through one, you're looking through them all. And so if you're seeing, you're looking at the moon, and if you're looking at the moon through the telescope, then you're looking through all the lenses. Then you can see the moon. Otherwise, you can't see the moon. So otherwise, you're not, and neither are you looking through the lens. So you can't be looking through your guru if you're not seeing Prabhupada. Because if you're not seeing Prabhupada, you're not seeing Guru Swami, and you're not seeing Lord Chaitanya, and you're not seeing Krishna either. So if you can see Guru and Krishna, then you can see everybody else. Of course, it's not some kind of thing that we're like simultaneously seeing so many persons, but it's simultaneous in that you're seeing the one person, but that one person includes everybody else. So it has to be transparent. You have to be able to see through, and that's what Guru means. The relationship with my spiritual master means that I see Krishna. I don't see Krishna directly. I see Krishna through the parampara. The fact that I'm seeing Krishna is that I'm seeing parampara. I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. Why am I reading Bhagavad Gita? Because there's Vyasadeva and Madhvacharya, Narada Muni and Madhvacharya, and this one and that one, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada. Otherwise, I wouldn't have Bhagavad Gita. That's what it means that I'm seeing. I'm receiving that knowledge. So same thing. When we read a verse of Bhagavad Gita and we're understanding, if I understand what Krishna says, I'm understanding because it's coming through the parampara. It may seem like I'm directly reading from Krishna, but actually it's coming through. So same way, when it goes in the other direction, it goes through. So in a mental picture, I may be seeing my spiritual master and I'm following his instruction, but and he may be the person that I'm focusing on. You know, I think about Prabhupada 24 hours a day. I'm not thinking about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Bhaktivinoda Thakur 24 hours a day, but I'm seeing. Maharaj just sent me something. I'm seeing Srila Prabhupada, but my relationship with the parampara and I'm seeing Krishna to him, it is a transparent phenomenon. It is very inconceivable. This concept of Guru Tattva is achintya. It is inconceivable. How it works is inconceivable. Prabhupada writes that in many places. It's inconceivable to me. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why Krishna would want to function through me, but he can act through anybody. So as long as someone's willing to be connected and as long as someone wants to follow his guru, then electrical wire may not be very smart, but there's a lot of information going through it. So what to speak of, what are those other things cables that they lay down for?
Fiber optic.
Huh?
Fiber optic.
Fiber optic. Oh, what is a fiber optic? No. It's stupid, doesn't know anything. It's not even conscious. But there's a lot of information going through it. Why? Just because it's connected. It's connected to the piece of fiber optic in front of it and the other one on the other side. And things just keep going at lightning speed. And I'm sitting here looking at my computer, it's coming out to me, and you're getting it over on the other side. And so, mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. So it works. It's a system that works if one is connected, but it's very, very mysterious. Although it's very scientific. That doesn't mean that it's not. There's no tattva to it. There's the Guru Tattva is such a very extensive thing. There's a science to it. There are principles that govern it. But this whole system is, yes, very, very extraordinary. So a devotee has a good relationship with Guru, with spiritual master, and spiritual master is connected, then relationship with Srila Prabhupada is a living thing. But of course, feeding that relationship with Srila Prabhupada is very important. So, you know, I've read Prabhupada Limala Gita umpteen times. And I've read many of other stories. I sit with my god brothers, god sisters, talk about Srila Prabhupada. I listen at lunch. It's something that I want to constantly hear. One, because he's my spiritual master, but because the other is I get a better and better picture of what the template is. Because my picture of the template is a little different than other people's picture of the template. So, you know, you take a picture of me from here, I look one thing one way. You take a picture like this, and I look different. And like this, I look even different. And if you, anyway, that's a joke that I'm reserving for later. And if you're very, very observant, you will notice something very, very, very different that I can't get into right now. But it's anyway. But the point is that we look different from different, and everyone has a different angle. Similarly, people will have different perspective on Srila Prabhupada, and it's all real. And all together, because you only have a two-dimension, whether it's like this, like this, like this, it's all two-dimension. But put all those two dimensions together, and then you can make a hologram, and you can make a three-dimensional picture. So similarly, we get a multi-dimensional picture of Srila Prabhupada, of Krishna, of so many, by sharing with Vaishnavas. And that's why Krishna says, Machchitam Adgata Prana, Katyantasman Nitya Tushanti Chamrava. I'm so used to just quoting certain lines of a verse that I forget the first parts. So, yes, Krishna says, why? Katyantasman Nitya Tushanti. Why should they be doing kata? Because Krishna is unlimited. And the more that you hear and the more we get perspective from others, the more our picture of Krishna becomes real, it becomes a living picture. And same with Prabhupada. And of course, the same devotees do the same thing with their spiritual master. You know, he told me the sky's blue for this reason. Well, he told me the sky's blue for that reason. He told me that actually it wasn't even blue. And then you try and put it all together and see how it actually all adds up, and get a picture of a person. And of course, that's one important part of our Krishna consciousness, because especially for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, God is one thing and the person is something else. And for us, it's very important to get to know the person. So in one sense, for us, the person becomes more important than the divinity. We want to know the personality of Krishna. And learning the personality of Krishna, that's why we hear so many of his pastimes. And Shukadev Goswami is describing these, and Rupa Goswami is describing, and Sanatana Goswami is describing. And always we're getting certain pictures, or even sometimes there's some either Krishna says something, and Krishna says something, and then in terms of, for instance, what Krishna says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, well, it could mean this, or it means this, or it means this. And then, you know, Krishna does something, and Sanatana Goswami says, well, he could have done it for this reason, or that reason, or that reason, or that reason. And well, which reason did he do it for? Well, he's God. There's a lot of reasons he could be doing something. He doesn't need one reason to do something. He does things for multiple reasons, unlimited reasons. And the more that you understand, the more his unlimited personality starts to manifest. We're very limited persons. So in one sense, it's a little easier to get to know someone, although how easy is it to get to know somebody? You know, people send their husband and wife spend their lives living together, and you know, after 30 years, they say, I still don't know. So and that's when you're living well together. So how well do you get to know somebody who, you hear a Bhagavatam class, or you come to a meeting, or you listen to a podcast? We get to know the person in terms of their tattva, in terms of their teachings. We know Bhagavad Gita. So many people have the Bhagavad Gita memorized. Do they know Krishna? What about Krishna the person? They may know Krishna's teachings, but then there's Krishna's the person. And, it's it's not easy being a tattva. Of course, everybody's a tattva. You're all jiva tattvas. I'm a jiva tattva, but it's not easy being a guru tattva, or not even being a guru, because behind the guru, there's also the person. And so Krishna says in, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami is explaining, Krishna says that people worship me in awe and reverence. It doesn't satisfy me. People worship me as God, but I'm more than God. I'm a person. So of course, that's a little, my personal approach to Srila Prabhupada was extremely limited. And it was actually other devotees who had the privilege of living with Prabhupada, being with Prabhupada. And so for me, it was very important to get to know. I got from Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who I became very close friends with, I got to know a lot, because he was with Prabhupada a lot, and Prabhupada taught him personally a lot. And then in the last 8 months, he was there with Prabhupada 24/7. So that's a very important thing, to actually get to know, well, what was this person like, who's also my guru? And we want to know as much as possible about others. Now, how much will we get to know about Rupa Goswami? If we hear, we know his teachings. So if you want to know me, read my books. So we know him from the point of view of his teachings. And then there's Rupa Goswami, the person. We get some idea. Here he was somebody who, in his ecstasy, he laughed, and a Vaishnava became offended. And so he apologized to just ordinary Vaishnava, Rupa Goswami. So get an idea of actually how humble he was. On the other side, you see how he was so upset. He had one initiated disciple, also very interesting, Jiva Goswami. And when that disciple sort of stepped over Sadachara a little, really to do the right thing, he became so upset, he just told them, go away. So this example, hard as a thunderbolt, soft as a rose. And then we get to read there are some pastimes, some stories of Rupa Goswami, but they're really actually quite limited. And that's a shame. We're very fortunate. We have Prabhupada Lilamrita, and now in English, we've had Prabhupada Lilamrita since ever. In Hungarian, we've got the first volume and now the second volume of the full. And it's very important because you get to know about Prabhupada the person. You get a lot of perspective, and it's the best written thing. Satsrupa Maharaj is the best writer in ISKCON. And there are the other sort of, no, they're not really biographies, they're really devotees. This is the biography, and then there's devotees' experiences of Srila Prabhupada, but you get a picture of Prabhupada's stories, and then, so these things actually devotees should really, really follow up on. There's a lot. And scholars have said that this was a real advantage in ISKCON, is that immediately upon Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, ISKCON gathered all this phenomenal amount of information, and devotees are putting this out because knowing who Prabhupada is going to be very central to getting down that central foundation of knowing what ISKCON is about. Because if you know Prabhupada, then you know what it is that he wanted. You know what the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant to be. You know, we have Bhakti Bikash Maharaj's 3 volumes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You get an idea of Srila Prabhupada about that. There's this very small book, Svalikita Jivani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's autobiography. So there are also books on about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself writing autobiography. So these things are good. These are helpful for us to actually understand our disciplic line, our disciplic succession, and it starts to give us a picture, both of the real thrust of our parampara, and then also of the, as much as we can, assemble pictures of what the personality of these transcendental personalities is like. What is their persona? Today, did I mention that? No, I didn't. I just showed his appearance on it.
In the podcast. Oh, no.
Today is the appearance of Yashoda Devi. This is not a member of ISKCON. Well, I mean, I guess she's a member of ISKCON, but I'm talking about the original Yashoda Devi. That's Krishna's mother. Today's her appearance day. This is month of Falguna already. Yeah. So that was good. I was happy to know that I'm born in the same month as Yashoda Devi. I know mine and Arjun, that's Arjun, the real Arjun. Our birthdays are really close together. So, yeah, I mean, we celebrate, people celebrate their dog's birthday. I don't know, hope devotees don't celebrate their dog's birthday, but here's Yashoda. Now, what are we going to do? What's the celebration? What's the event? And this is Krishna's mother. This is the day that she appeared in the world preceding Krishna. And such an important personality. Fortunately, in the way Sukadeva Goswami is describing, and Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pastimes, we get to know something. And then actually, when it comes to Krishna's or Goswami's literature, then we even get to know a little more about, we get indicators of what her personality is like. The focus is always on Krishna, Srimati Radharani mainly, and then those who are their inner circle. She's also the inner circle, but not so much inner circle of Radha and Krishna, but the inner circle of Krishna. Yeah, it's about becoming. Did I press the button? I never pressed the button. Huh? Oh, and so, but we're all about getting to know people, and of course, ultimately we will get to know Mother Yashoda better once we get to the spiritual world or get back to the spiritual world. And because ultimately that's all we're going to be interested in is people and their personality. And all the tattva that it took to get us there, that's just all in the background. That's floating down the Jamuna, and it's all washed away. It's no longer necessary. Now the only thing that's necessary is what binds people together. And what binds people together is love. And that's what Krishna consciousness is meant to awaken. That's what knowing these principles of tattva is our foundation, is our tools to how ultimately practice. Our means is chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about these personalities. Just like this morning, not this morning, at lunchtime, we're listening to how Prabhupada was speaking with one of his disciples and emphasizing just how important actually this Bhagavad Vidhi is. That it is actually what's making things work. I sometimes Prabhupada gives the example of the Bhagavad Vidhi, Panchatrika Vidhi, and there are two tracks. I don't know if you've had electric train. Anybody have electric train? You had an electric train?
No, because I was a babysitter and the boy has.
You played with the electric train. Anyway, electricity goes through one of the tracks. So the electricity goes through the Bhagavad Vidhi. The Panchatrika Vidhi keeps you balanced. Otherwise you fall off the track and the electricity doesn't do any good. Although, if you're clever enough ultimately to just, ride on, you see that sometimes they do these trick drivers, they got the car and they're just driving on two wheels. Don't try it. But some people do that. So, but the current is coming through Bhagavad Vidhi. It's coming through Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam Kirtanam. And from that will come Smarna. So these are the primary aspects of our Krishna conscious practice, and so it and that's and by doing that, then yes, then we awaken gradually. We awaken our personality. So we find out who we are. Right now, we're just something that's molded out of the material energy. The material energy is made out of us, or rather that we've sort of dreamt up that we want to be. Just like when children go out and play and they get covered in mud and so on. So they need to get all washed off in order to actually come back to looking proper. So yeah, we got to start by figuring out who we are, what our personality is. That's what Swarup means. Who am I? I don't even know who I am. I have this misconception that I'm whatever I look in the mirror and whatever I think, and all that this is me. But actually, I'm different. Who is that? So I want to come to this realization of who I am, and then that becomes the instrument by which I can actually really make connection with others. So that was a long answer to that question. Bhagavatam, 4th canto. This is Shiromani in Hungary. She says, this is from 4th canto. The Hare Krishna mantra also promises, Dear Lord Krishna, dear Lord Ram, O the energy of the Lord Hare, please allow me to serve you. This confused me a bit because the Ram in the mantra seems to refer to the Ram of the Lord. However, earlier you mentioned during the Shikshashtakam, if I understood clearly, that the Ram in the mantra does not refer to the Ram of the Lord. You mean Lord Ramachandra? This Ram in the mantra can still be in relation to Lord Ram. Perhaps here in connection with Lord Ram, we should not think the incarnation of Lord Ram. Anyway, so the question is it Lord Ramachandra or is it referred to Ram? Krishna is Ram. Prabhupada's general principle is just get people to chant Hare Krishna. Whatever they think it means, just chant. So does Hare refer to Hari? Because there are translations, not just Srila Prabhupada, but acharyas who say it also refers to, we translate it as the vocative of Hara, but it's also the same of Hari. So who are we talking to? Are we talking to Krishna or are we talking to Radha? So, but when in general, Prabhupada's and our concern is, and we will tell people, if someone asks us, oh, can I chant Hare Krishna to appeal to Lord Ramachandra? We say, yeah, by all means, just chant. Because they'll chant. We want to chant Hare Krishna. That's the beginning. Then after someone's chanting Hare Krishna, if they want to know more and as they become more purified, well, what are the other meanings of the Hare Krishna mantra? And to whom does actually, if you wanted to refer to Lord Ramachandra is hearing, so you can chant. But if you want to, and even Maya Devi, when she got initiated by Haridas Thakur, then she says, formerly, I was initiated, Lord Shiva initiated me into the holy name of Lord Ram. Now, please initiate me with the holy name of Lord Krishna. But then, the implication there seems to be is that she's chanting both the name of Ram and both the name of Krishna. And this is Parvati, this is the material energy personified, who's chanting like that. So, that's all right. You chant, get people to start chanting. But for Vaishnavas, they want a clear conception now, Shikshashtakam. What is it that Lord Chaitanya is thinking when he's chanting? Then he's thinking only about Krishna. So he's thinking only about Krishna, then the mantra means only Krishna. And when Lord Chaitanya is thinking about Hare Krishna, he's thinking about Hari Krishna. He's not thinking about Radharani because he is Radharani, or he's in the position of being Radharani. And when Srimati Radharani chants Hare Krishna, she chants Hare Krishna. She thinks Hare refers to Hari. She says, you're the person who takes away all of my shyness and all of my reservation. So, and Krishna is the person who draws me into the forest with the playing of his flute. So Hare Krishna. And Rama is the source of all transcendental pleasure, who gives pleasure to everyone's senses. So mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra means according to who's chanting, according to the level of their spiritual advancement, that's what it will mean. And we need to, I guess it's hard to be connected and at the same time not have all these other things coming in. So the mantra is like that. And if someone wants to primarily chant, just like Murari Gupta, he's chanting Hare Krishna, but he's thinking of Lord Ramachandra, And Lord Chaitanya is encouraging him, yes, chat. So I hope that's understandable. And it is 8 o'clock. We started at 7. I don't know how long we'll go. Here's Ramanuj in Mayapur. He says, it is said in ISKCON that one should either choose to be a grihastha or join the temple as a brahmachari. My question is, if a person is unable to marry for a certain reason and also cannot join the temple as a brahmachari because he has to earn and maintain his mother and father, what should the person do in such a case? Get married. Strictly speaking, if we're talking about Varna Ashram, and of course this is in Mayapur, but even in Mayapur there are so many grihasthas who are engaged in full-time temple service. But if one is making a commitment to maintain a family and so on, then this is it. Brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, take your pick. But each of them have certain lifestyle. You have to choose one or the other. And of course, I don't know if a person is unable to marry to certain reasons, but I don't know what that is. That's a personal discussion that one may make with one's counselor and so on. Is it really impossible? But as a general principle, yeah, brahmacharis don't. Brahmachari means living in the temple. Non-brahmacharis don't live outside the temple. So that's from the Varnashram point of view. Kartik Chandra, that's in Mayapur. Was not in Mayapur, he's in Calcutta. But Hare Krishna. I don't know if he's online or not. Okay, his question is, in devotional service we also experience phases of highs and lows. There are times when we feel too enthusiastic about attending Mangalartik. Well, I haven't met anybody who's too enthusiastic about that. And chanting more number of rounds than prescribed. Again, there are times when we struggle to finish our 16 rounds with proper concentration, wake up at Mangalartik or listen to lectures. So how can we maintain the balance? Anyway, if you read Madhurya Kadambini, then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes this unsteady stage of devotional service. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also describes it. What are the conditions that make one unsteady? What are the recipes that one can overcome this anishta vajana kriya? So one's executing, one's performing one's bhajan, but it's not steady. I don't think there's such a thing as being too enthusiastic. That's more enthusiastic you can be, that's fine. But in any case, this up and down, this is symptomatic of the influence of anarthas that they're really still very much prevalent. And nastapreshu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. So this nishta, that steadiness is not there because still abhadra, all these inauspicious things still reside. It takes time to purify the heart. The drawback is that the purification takes, if our activities are up and down, then the purification is also up and down. But Salavi, what can you do? That we have to take responsibility for our own spiritual development, and so that's the way it is. But and that's why association is such an important thing. because according to the quality of the association that we have, then we can be steady. If we associate with people who are steady, then that helps us to become steady. If we associate with others who are also going up and down, and our friends are people who are riding the roller coaster with us, then they're not going to be much help other than just commiserate with us. But if there are those who, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this idea that even just to concentrate well in japa, he says if you just sit beside someone who's actually doing that, their energy will inspire you, their example will inspire you. And that's why I feel guilty that I'm not in the temple room with devotees chanting japa, but then I don't get to write. And that's my best writing time. This morning I got I went till noon. Couldn't do anything. I couldn't do any other work. I couldn't do puja. I did get dressed, and yeah. So it was a good stretch. So sadhu sangha sarva shastra lava matra. Good association. Such an important thing. In theory, association with spiritual masters recommended. Okay, here I am, but this is very, very limited, and that's why it's so important. Having a counselor system, having a counselor, having senior Vaishnavas whom one can associate with, senior devotees there, Brahmins, older devotees, those who one can really, dadati pratigrinati, guyama pratiprichati, one can really actually get inspiration from in spiritual life. I'm sitting here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 devotees, and I get to see them, and we've been sort of limited, or at least, well, they get to see me twice a week. Because that's as much as I go downstairs to give class. And then aside from that, some exchange. So you can't just base it just on this. It needs more. It needs more input. So wherever, however you can get it from, whoever you can get it from, one should get that inspiration. And of course, I'm talking within the umbrella of our Krishna consciousness movement. We should get that inspiration so that we can progress forward and reawaken our Krishna consciousness. Actually, I was going to suggest, but then I forgot, that devotees should send in any questions to Chaitanya Chandra, and he could just put them up on the put them up here on the wherever they're meant to come up. I'm just looking. Oh, but I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm not looking at Zoom. I'm looking at the questions. So yeah, if they came up on the chat, there's some things on the chat. Are these questions? Oh,
the last one is a question from Ipek.
The last one is a question from Ipek. In our devotional, or the highs and lows. That's what I just answered.
So you should send it to me. I'll just copy it and send it to everybody. There you
go. I heard 2 interpretations about one's varna, both that we are a mix of different varnas in this age, and also that one belongs to one varna only, although it makes time to realize which one this is. Which of these interpretations is correct? Well, it's a fact. We are very mixed. 2, 3, 4. It's real. Rainbow Nation. we're really a blend of a lot of things. But ultimately, you have to be one. So ultimately, you've got to fit into one of them, because you have to follow one, even though you may have tendencies for others. And what that one is, that's something that also devotees need to settle up and settle. And it's not not a mysterious thing. People even in the material world, they're doing this. Well, I really like playing piano, but I'm going to starve to death if I'm a pianist. So I, should get a job, or I'm going to, I don't know, become an engineer, or I'm going to be working, become a baker or something like that, and open a bakery. So, yeah, you'll never go hungry having a bakery. People are always going to be eating bread, and even if they stop, at least you have something to eat. So that's so a person then has decided, now this is going to be my Varna. And if I'm an engineer, then I have to live according to this lifestyle. I have to follow these rules and regulations. If I'm going to be a baker, then so on. So even though I may be playing piano at home, and you may love to play piano, but that doesn't mean that, just like long ago, same thing, is that Shama Gauri said she liked to dance. But that didn't make Devi Dasi, because she liked to dance, but at the same time she likes Sanskrit and so many other things. So we may have, and we are, nothing's going to be black and white, or it's very rare that things are black and white in Kali Yuga. But ultimately, you have to do one thing. So, and what that thing is, that's going to be your Varna, your primary Varna, and then you have to act. You have rights according to that, and you have obligations according to that. So, if you live like a Vaishya, then you have to do that. If you live like a Shudra, then you have to do that. You have to have a Brahmin, then do that. But you can't switch. You can't mix and match. If you're going to be a Brahmin, then then you have to really have to be a Brahmin. Then you just depend on Krishna. You don't work for anybody. Of course, that's a little different than being Brahmin initiated. But if you're really going to be a Brahmin, then there's no question of getting a job. And there's no question of working. And then you're either a pujari or you're a teacher. And just today, Prabhupada was saying that you can't get a salary because teachers don't get salaries. So that's being a Brahmin. And then Kshatriyas and so on. So there's, and of course, these two are rare. And then even Vaishya was getting in, and then mostly our tendency is Kalo Shudra Sambhava. So it's even rare that someone's a real Shudra. And that has the qualities. Because we're talking about Vaishnavas, then that becomes a different story, or at least the perspective is a little different. We still have these conditioned natures, but what is Varnashram for? Varnashram is ultimately Samsiri Haritoshanam. It's ultimately meant to bring people to devotional service. I'm already at devotional service. Yes, and because someone's already realized the perfection of Varnashram, therefore, in one sense, they've reached the goal of Varnashram. But in another sense, we still have to function because we're conditioned souls. So, yeah, the qualities of Shudras that Narada Muni talks about in the Bhagavatam, they're honest, they're faithful, the very they don't require money. All they require is just maintenance. Very elevated consciousness. Even those qualities are sort of hard to find. So yeah, devotees are in this double realm. In one sense, their life is already successful because they're practicing Krishna consciousness. But in another sense, they still have to perfect their Krishna consciousness, and they can only do that when they come to the mode of goodness. And coming to the mode of goodness means that they have to be regulated according to Varna and Ashrama. And that's why Srila Prabhupada emphasized the importance for that. And then ultimately, you have to do one thing to live in life, whatever it is, just like the earlier question from Ramanuj, there's someone going to be a brahmachari, but you have to be something. And you can't be, there's no such thing as being in between. So Kali Yuga is not a new thing for Shastra. Shastra is very well aware that it comes around every 4 ages. So the fact that people are so confused and their natures are so mixed up is not a secret for Shastra. But still, they've only given 4. They haven't given any subdivisions. So you have to fall into that 4, and then things work. And yes, we were coincidentally having this Varnashram meeting yesterday, and Maharani was quoting Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj, says, if it's Vedic, it tastes good and it works. And if it's not Vedic, you may think it tastes good, but it won't work. Work ultimately means in the long run, things work. Things may not appear to immediately work. It may take time, but ultimately it works. And the ultimate issue, ultimately in Krishna's eyes, if it's Vedic, it works. Okay. Well, we're going to have another meeting at some time in the future. And I'm going to just sort of wrap up and conclude for now. Devotees here, well, some of the devotees need to go home and they're already beyond curfew time. And things are getting a little tight here now. The tightening down or closing down Hungary for the next month or so. Things have gotten very, very extreme in terms of the virus situation. So, and I hope that everyone else is also taking care of themselves wherever they may be. Did we go not too fast for translation? Translations were all right. I'm looking at a translator. I'm not seeing anybody just yet. But anyway, I hope, yeah, it was all right, Tarangini, not too fast. Okay, I saw her. So everyone take care of themselves. Let's stay in touch. Send me good questions. And then remember, it's Mother Yashoda's appearance day, and how Mother Yashoda used to, here's Bhakti Marcella, I'm just seeing, Hare Krishna. And now I know what you look like. And one day American, what would you? Anyway, we're just trying to figure out what South American country you're in.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I'm from Ecuador,
Ecuador, Central America,
South America,
South
near
America.
Colombia and Peru.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so it's Mother Yashoda's appearance day, and we should pray for her blessings. I don't know whether you were ever in such an experience when I don't know, there was either some boy or girl that your parents wanted to befriend, or their friends wanted you to befriend them or take care of them, and so
I just stopped in the middle of the class and I asked a devotee which part of South America she's from, and she's great.
Who's that?
Someone
Anyway.
called Davani, I muted her.
And your mother tells you, you should be very nice to him. You should take care of him. Maybe you can take him to school. I was in that situation, taking some next door neighbor to school, and because they were younger, they were just going to school or something like that. So yeah, Mother Yashoda is very kind. She can ask Krishna that you should be friendly to this boy, to this girl, and you know, of course they don't go to school, but you can play with them or take them out to the cow pastures and so on. Or, you know, when Srimati Radharani comes to cook, and afterwards when Krishna's gone to the cow pastures, and she may tell Srimati Radharani that you should be very nice to this. Of course, Radharani doesn't talk to boys, but she's very nice to this girl because she's also very interested in you know, being part of your team, being part of your group. So yes, and Mother Yashoda is always very, very kindly. That's how Shukadeva Goswami ends the 8th chapter of 10th canto. He said, by associating with Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, the residents of Vrindavan attained the love for Krishna like theirs. So anyway, you can pray to Mother Yashoda today. Okay, Marcella, you should also pray to Mother Yashoda today. And that's your husband. Now I see him also. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, it's Marcella's birthday today also.
No, really? Oh, boy. Anyway, we should remember that when it's time to get initiated. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.